All right. I am all about training our future selves. As you know, I turned 50 a couple months ago. Well, gosh, now 6 months ago, but I'm all about training the athlete, but training for your future self, how you want to live, feel, perform, not next year or this year in your races, but when you're 70, 80, 9 years old, 90 years old. Hopefully we make it that long. And I think a lot of what we should be doing now is really important. So I connected with some fellow San Diego company fans that I love, Qualia Mind, and they have such good information, research, and products out there. So Lauren's going to help us figure out how we can live our best life, our second half of our life. So thanks for joining me, Lauren from Neurohacker. So Lauren, tell us a little bit about what's your why behind doing this, what led you down this path of Neurohacker?
Oh, wow. What a big question.
I know.
You know, I'm pretty lucky. I mean, if you and your listeners go look at the About tab at Neurohacker and see all the like great minds that cross multiple disciplines and the advisory group that we have. I mean, we have fitness experts, we have neuroscientists, we have doctors, and we have Jamie Wheel, author of Stealing Fire. So there's never a dull moment for me. I'm like everybody else where I'm a mom. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, which I have low grade anxiety running that they're going to pop in while we're chatting and because school's out. And, but I want to perform at my peak. I want to show up for my family. I want to show up for work. I want to be my best self. I want to kind of keep pushing my own personal record, if you will. And I've been like that since birth, and so I was very attracted to this organization because they make incredible products and they share the values. I mean, kind of like everybody else, like all these people, like you, like why we're attracted, why we keep coming to Neurohacker, this collective is always the same 3 things that they fell in love with one of the products. They fell in love with the mission, or they share that mission, which is to advance quality of life. And they are inspired by our values, which is transparency, which is pushing the standards for supplementation, and also really working hard to educate, everyone. I think one of the important things for me and what I've kind of come out of understanding that a lot of people are arriving here kind of post-pandemic is that like, it's our responsibility to like optimize our own health. Like this personal health sovereignty is like a movement. It's like no longer the work is on me. And that means like listening to podcasts. That means taking courses. That means reading books. That means running my own experiments, and that's our community. And I'm like a fan that happens to work for the company, I share all that.
Yeah, I think it's an important part of the journey of, those who are understanding that we need to take ownership of our health, and the journey, that transformation, that road we're taking to improve our future self is up to us. And there's not a magic pill that's going to do it. And all this work that we have to do to work on our lifestyle habits, choose nutrient dense, rich foods, make ourselves get up and go outside and see the sunlight in the morning, prioritizing sleep. All these lifestyles are so essential to be fit and healthy from the inside out. And I think a lot of our listeners hopefully have changed their ways, but a lot of people just focus on the exercise. And endurance athletes training for triathlons, Ironmans are often overtraining. And actually what happened to me, is putting too much stress, overloading that beaker of stress, that it causes metabolic chaos, internal breakdown that led me down what I kind of follow my passion now, that I can't race anymore. And I trying to help other people avoid going through that hole I went into. But I think it's important, as you said, from the pandemic, to learn that, okay, you can choose to be healthy or not is something, is taking the supplements, but also the nutrition and the exercise and the stress management and hygiene of your sleep and all of that. So essential. Yeah. But I think people hopefully are waking up to that, figuring that out. I know there's a lot of people that don't, but I recorded a podcast recently, not to go down that rabbit hole, but I just lost my father 2 weeks ago. And it's so frustrating to know, it's like, I want to look at his labs, what the doctors tested, but it's like nothing he can do. But it's so much of the stuff that was on his death certificate was, renal failure and, kidneys just were not working. But then it's also medications that kept giving him that caused more stress on his kidneys. And then they keep drawing blood to test things, and they're not even testing insulin or inflammatory markers and all these other things that I try to promote people to do now, like do Inside Track or do the DNA Company or do something to really look at what your body is looking at now, and then you can be proactive. But I think so much of it, as we're talking about today, is our choice to look at options, what we can do now. And that's why I love what you guys are working on. Talk a little bit about what are senescent cells.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry about your dad, by the way. That's hard. But yeah, so here we go. Like senolytics and senescent cells. These are two terms that are not very well known, but in the next couple years, like my prediction, our team's prediction is that they'll be as ubiquitous as like keto and nootropics. Yeah. So, everybody wants to slow down the signs of aging, but, few people are kind of going about it the right way. And obviously it's a multi-pronged, multidiscipline approach. But scientists are now kind of believing that part of the reason that we experience aging the way that we do has to do with stressed or worn out cells, which are called senescent cells. And understanding what senescent cells do is kind of like the key to unlocking the healthy aging puzzle. And senescent cells are cells that are formed when a cell is so beat up and worn out that it's not worth repairing it. And as you know, a big part of our cells' jobs, healthy cells' jobs, is to repair each other. And so they take a look at a senescent cell and they're like, nope, you're not getting worked on it. And it's actually like a good process. It happens for a variety of good reasons. You don't want to be duplicating overly damaged cells, right? But what happens is as we age, you have these senescent cells accumulating in tissues, and they hide. They're really experts at hiding in joints, in fat tissue, and brain tissue. Although they share a lot of similarities, they're all very different too. So, and another kind of problem with them is that they secrete molecules that can change the behaviors of otherwise healthy cells near them, and causing those healthy cells to become senescent. And so a lot of people use the zombie metaphor for senescent cells because they're not active, they're not dead, they're not alive, they're just there hanging out, taking up space. Yeah. And like the zombie movies, like when a zombie touches a healthy person, they turn the healthy person into a zombie. I've never been a big zombie fan, so I always was having just struggling with that analogy forever. And this brilliant formulator that I work with, Gregory Kelly, wrote up this whole thing using the analogy of in the garden. And I'm obsessed with my garden. I'm a gardener, and the yellow leaves on a plant, where they're on their way to fall off, but they're just kind of hanging there. And as a gardener, we prune for very specific reasons. The main reason is to promote that growth we want the energy to go towards the healthy part of the plant that produces. But also, if you leave those yellow leaves around, you're going to get pests, you're going to get mold. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. And so, sorry for all analogies, but it is a lot of learning here. So, and I find in my learning journey that analogies are really important.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Plus I have a big garden. So you're giving me some garden tips because my hibiscus plants has these yellow leaves on. I was like, do I take those off? So I'm getting some other lessons as well as senescent cells.
That's another episode. I could talk about gardening all day, but, so anyway, you prune this off, you get a healthier plant, you get a healthier body. There's more room for healthy functional cells to come in and do your job. Well, this is going on all the time. But as we get older, one of the main jobs of the immune system is to come and knock out these senescent cells. But But as we get older, there's this whole thing, immunosenescence, which basically is like the immune system is less productive. And so the immune system starts slacking on its job of pruning out these senescent cells. And then, year and year goes by and you continue to have more senescent cells. And that population is taking up space that could have healthy cells. So, okay. Here's the exciting part. So in 2015, the Mayo Clinic and Scripps Research led a whole bunch of studies and published a study that led to the discovery and coined the term senolytics, because they identified ingredients that could target and destroy senescent cells. And so when you get rid of a senescent cell, it makes space for a healthy cell to come in. And I don't know how familiar you are with the 9 hallmarks of aging, but these are like areas. This is a great place that the longevity community has like organized their thinking around the aging process, and cellular senescence and mitochondrial dysfunction are like 2 key players of those 9. And, we had been researching, healthy aging for a while at Neurohacker, because we have 2 products in the category. We have Qualia Life, and which it really is aimed around mitochondrial fitness and health. And then Qualia Skin, which was really an inside out skin formula to help with all the like negative aspects of skin aging. And we kept bumping into the research on senolytics and senescent cells, et cetera, and kind of knew that we could take, because senescent networks are a complex system network, and there's like all kinds of intricacies. We knew that our approach to formulation, which was very around redundancies, around thinking about multiple things, doing multiple things, like we knew we could contribute to this area of formulation uniquely than anyone has.
Yeah, I think, athletes for sure, as we talked before we started recording, we have a lot of stress because you're doing endurance sport, especially Ironmans, triathlons at any distance. There's a lot of endurance training that's breaking ourselves down, adding more oxidative stress, free radical damage, that we don't always manage it appropriately. And I think a lot of people think more is better, and they're training for races. They're not thinking the big picture. As I said earlier, I'm training for a race this year, but are you training for my 80-year-old self? And I'm trying to teach our listeners and my clients to go, okay, let's work on our race training schedule and matching our nutrition and our fueling, but let's work on recovery and how to repair and reverse that damage we may be creating, because being an Ironman athlete isn't really necessarily healthy.
Right.
And how important that is, like what we're doing to our cells that speed up aging versus reversing it or improving the aging process. And I say embracing the changes we have when we're aging. So we're doing what we can do to improve it so I can continue doing the things I love to do in life.
Right.
So what do we do? What are the ingredients and the solution to improve it? Do we combine that, like we call stacking, with fasting? And, how do we make the best of this kind of cell autophagy and bring in the good new senescent cells and get rid of the bad ones?
Right. So this is a 9 ingredient formula. There's 7 senolytic ingredients and 2 ingredients in there to boost their senolytic complements. And what's really cool about this protocol and what kind of differentiates, our research showed that the best way to dose this is intermittent, high dose intermittently. And so you take it 2 days a month and then come back to it in a month from then. So the Mayo Clinic calls this dosage a hit and run, but they found it to be the most effective in terms of dampening the populations of senescent cells. Yeah. And I mean, 2 of the most famous ingredients, fisetin and quercetin. We chose Quercefit. It's a branded version of quercetin because Quercefit, the process that they use, it's more bioavailable. Quercetin's kind of has some limitations in its bioavailability. So we really scoured for a solution to get the most bioavailable form. Also, we included luteolin, which complements quercetin. They like kind of work very similar, but differently. So we have milk thistle, olive leaf extract, and curcumin. And so there's a lot that are in there. It's all dosed in the way, and the forms are there for the most like bioavailable experience.
So that's one thing people should realize, that most companies don't share their ingredients and proprietary ingredients. And I think that's a big thing. Like you're saying earlier, you're open about sharing the product, that a lot of companies don't say what's actually in it and disclose that research or information. So I think that's something to look at for trusting a company, that you can trust the research that you did, you share that research, the links, and people know what they're taking, because there's so many options out there and so many claims that products will do this or that, but you're not getting the quality ingredients. It's not absorbable. You're probably peeing it out, and really knowing that, okay, am I spending all this money on supplements that just are not going to do anything? And how do you know if it's working or not?
Yeah.
Is a big thing.
Well, we go like overboard on that. So, I mean, the back of a facts panel for us is like almost a mini novel. Like it has the name of it and the form and the extract and the percentage of the extract listed. And we never will use proprietary blends. We want you guys to know everything that's in there. And then we go a couple steps beyond, where we publish a paper on the rationale of why we chose each ingredient.
Awesome.
And why we chose the dosage of each ingredient. And so, and every ingredient has its own breakout page as well that explains why it's used, its sourcing, its purpose in the formula, or just its purpose if you were looking to try it for, a lot of ingredients have multiple purposes. And that's something about this. So there are a few other senolytics on the market. Most of them are 1 or 2 ingredient formulas that focus on quercetin and fisetin. And because those are the most studied to date, although all of the ingredients we chose do have studies behind them. But we found that like multiple ingredients really matter for the desired effect of dampening senescent cells, because senescent cells are experts at surviving. And they're like for example, quercetin is better for helping senescent cells that live in bone marrow and fisetin, on the other hand, is better for cells that are in fat tissue, senescent cells. And so there's like so much nuance to it, and it's all been thought out.
See, that's why I love Ben Greenfield's company, Keon, because I know them and they research everything, and they'll reformulate based on newer research studies. Like, all right, we need more leucine in these essential aminos, and they'll change it. And I think that's so good to look at companies. And as neurohacker, I think it's same thing. It's like, why am I taking this? What's the purpose? What research, scientific evidence do you have to back your theory that this works, that it's actually scientifically proven? And then stacking those ingredients and why all those work, like you just said, I think is so important to look at. If people are choosing a supplement to improve the aging process, I think it's important to note that the difference, what's out there. Also, you talked about, the purpose and the why, but what about the timing of it? Twice a month, is it best? We want to avoid something like antioxidants you don't want to take right after exercise. Is it best to take something like that in the evening when your body's resting and sleeping? You have it. Is there research timing and with that dosage?
Yeah, time of day. That's really interesting. So the thing you've mentioned stress several times, and this will put stress on the system, much like a detox or a cleanse. And so we kind of recommend to choose a time period that wouldn't be overly stressful, because your body's going to work a bit to remove the senescent cells. We tested the beta. So we all, another thing that's different about us, keep going on and on, but we test all of our formulas with our beta community before going to market.
Yeah.
And so the main goal, right, is tolerability, and but secondary is efficacy. We won't take a formula to market until we have, 4 stars and above from our beta community in terms of how it's designed. And so we chose one of the classical places are senescent cells live in joints, and joint pain and arthritic pain are kind of somewhat associated with them at this point. And so we chose a WAMAC survey, which is a validated arthritic pain survey, and tested before and after a regimen of the product. And we had 89% of the participants show improvement on from taking that. And, we're going to conduct a lot more studies. That's not, we published everything, we disclosed everything. It's a pilot study, it's beta, it's like, very early on, but I think I'm sharing that more from the spirit of that. We're doing research and looking closely at what our desired effect is showing up in real life versus just the classical printed and research papers.
So what is the desired effect? How do you know if you're getting rid of the senescent cells?
Well, so senescent cells show up very differently for everybody. And so that is the hard part. And that's what Mayo Clinic and Scripps Research and much larger places than Neurohacker are trying to measure, come up with a measurement tool for that, because you and I could have, camps forming in my brain, and you could have just some in your joints or, your fat tissue. And so there isn't enough research there right now, but it's coming. This is a big area.
So, okay, I'm back up because I've got all these thoughts. Stacking to make it more effective. So we talked about when to take it. And I will add, because I'm trying to take information I keep learning from people like Dr. Mindy and looking at the female menstrual cycle. We don't want to do anything during the luteal phase that will add extra stress. So no extended fasting, no hard exercise, no cold therapy should be limited or eliminated. That week before the end of someone's cycles, the week before your cycle begins, female athletes should minimize. So we wouldn't want to do that luteal phase. So probably the first half of your phase is when we want to add this in, the 2 doses a month, if you want to get really specific. I've been trying to map everything out for the female athlete and supplements and when to take things, but you're saying a high dose twice a month to have that hit and run, which I think is great, because that's another podcast we're going to do that I would say less is more. And people think more is better, that they keep taking something every day. And then if it's supposed to be a hormetic stressor, acute stress to create effective dose, if you do it every day, that's not acute stress, it's chronic stress.
Right.
So doing it twice a month, I think is great recommendation. But then the next question, how do you stack that? Like I said, would you do sauna or cold shower, or do a GI detox kind of binder supplement half an hour later? Have you guys looked at any other stacks of biohacking kind of things?
Yeah. So I think the biggest stack that immune boosting tactics and protocols would be the best things to stack with this, because the immune system plays a critical role in all of this.
Yeah. So what would that be, like a sauna?
Yeah.
Take it before you go in the sauna, take your binder after, drink your electrolytes, drink in the sauna, and then take a binder afterwards, because you're kind of helping break up those dead cells. I think in a sauna comes to mind first, but maybe a cold shower helps, or cold thermogenesis would help that as well. So it'd be good study.
I think that's a really exciting experiment. I would love
N
to
= 1.
try that.
Yeah, what you would
and
put
report
it with.
back.
Yeah. So putting those things, I'm all into stacking to create the most effective dose. If I'm going to take the supplement, how can I enhance that process that we're looking for to get rid of those dead cells? And because we can't out supplement poor lifestyle habits. So you can take this, but if you're hammering your body every day with exercise, external stress, internal stressors, you're not sleeping, you're not making the best food choices, you're not being fit and healthy from the inside out, you're actually being fit and unhealthy. I think there's a lot of people out there who still think, oh, I'll take this twice a month and that'll be my magic card to improve the aging process, my solution, and not have to do the work. And so I always want to make sure people know that it goes together, combine that with the nutrition, lifestyle habits, and immune boosting protocols you're saying.
Right. And sleeping. I would say sleep is like the ultimate.
I forgot my number one
booster.
thing is sleep. Yeah, I know. And that's why I would be interested if you do take this, your 2 times a month dose before sleep to help enhance that process. And then maybe you do a binder in the morning, because I just feel like that. And then I always like to see, biometrics. How can I test if this is working or not? So if someone has heart rate variability testing measure, if they could see, okay, my heart rate variability score improves because I reduce some stress, or maybe it drops and then improves, it'd be a little trick, or a ring to look at your sleep score. We also talked before in our show about liver time. Chinese medicine is at 2 to 3 a.m. And if your glucose is up higher, there's more activity. So it'd be interesting to I just like to geek out at all the different metrics and go, okay, if I take this, do I see any different patterns that show something my body's activating and doing some internal cleansing to get rid of these dead cells? Because we know we have them. We all have them.
Right.
But okay. And then, we were talking about stress, and can we talk a little bit about the importance of managing our stress, but what you're also, I think we call hidden internal stressors that are hormones, immune dysfunction, D is detoxification, digestion, E is for energy system and nervous system. So these hidden internal sources of chronic stress, we can improve with a supplement as this to get rid of those cells and help the aging process. So, but what are other ways we're talking about that we can improve our response to stress, like adaptogens and breathing exercises, the way we start and end our day, and maximizing our sleep quality? But what have you guys come up with for stress management?
Yeah. So, the relationship between stress and performance is like, there's a Goldilocks zone, right?
Yes. Yeah.
None. And you're bored and too much, and it's a complete meltdown. Yeah. And so finding that, balance, that's what we're all kind of looking for.
The Goldilocks effect, for sure. Yeah.
And, not too hot, not too, and so, we have another product coming out that is designed around stress resilience. It's called resilience. And the idea is not most of the products right now in the stress category are kind of sedative, overly sedating, like they're calming, but you want to just watch TV. You don't want to do anything. And as biohackers and neurohackers, like we want to be manage stress better, but also be cognitively ready. We want to be, mentally tough. And so, we started research on this, this product category actually was our second product that we started researching, but it's taken till now to, execute on this idea, because it's really hard. And, because the idea of, finding ingredients that can, reduce stress perception, and allow you to cognitively function better in stress.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that I just butt in, because I think that's my issue, where my area of opportunity, that I would do Ironmans and run my own business and have this huge financial stress of owning a studio, that other people could, it's more genetic too. I find that it's like, how come I can't tolerate that level of stress and someone else can do it and have no problems? And that I need more support of my stress resiliency. I need to build that up and add more support ongoing, because that's just my tendencies to have more instability with more stress load. I tend to react more, I think, than others. I know.
Oh, well, I mean, what's exciting is that there might be some ingredient solutions that could like help with just the reactivity. And like, I think everybody, like when you're stressed, overly stressed, like we do things we regret. We look back and we're like, I did not handle that well. And it's not really being in the stress. It's like that feeling I feel like we're more tortured about. And so, our team put together a formula that really has some ingredients that have studies behind them to support being able to stay more centered and calm in stressful situations.
Yes.
And you're like, yes. And so one of the ingredients is Extramel. It's a branded ingredient that is made out of one of the most powerful antioxidants. And, it's in their studies have basically shown that people are perceiving stress lower than the control group, which is super exciting, as all of us, it's like stress not going away, but I'd love to not perceive as much as I'm perceiving.
Well, that's when I'm coaching clients, we identify some external stressors. It's like your job or your family members. They are the way they are. Your job is what it is if you can't quit. That how do you approach those situations? How do you deal with that stress that way? So that's like something to look at, that how I respond to that stress. Maybe that would assist in my ability to react differently.
Right.
Keep you calm.
Lifestyle, meditation, right, is probably, and meditation and exercise until you get too far on that Goldilocks, equilibrium are definitely great tools for managing stress, but both are difficult. It's hard to meditate and have a meditation practice and prioritize one. And it's difficult to have, if you're not a professional athlete, a healthy exercise routine, that is just as much physical, but for your mental and emotional health.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of athletes get into trouble, is that we end up burning the candle at both ends, because especially doing an Ironman or triathlon, you have 3 sports, and then you're supposed to do yoga, you're supposed to do Pilates, and you're supposed to do strength training. And then suddenly I've got, 20, 30 workouts to fit in during the day or the week. But then each day I have a family and I have a full-time job and I have household chores and I've got to drive these places. And suddenly I'm waking up, I used to wake up 3:30 in the morning to get to work at 5 to check emails before my clients. And it would be like, okay, I was at work at 4:30 in the morning. So, and then I get home at 8 o'clock at night. It was just, doesn't work. It's not sustainable. I broke myself. But I think that's what a lot of people need to look at, that what I call the holistic method. You got to look at the whole person, your whole lifestyle habits, and how to work on your area of, identify your areas of opportunity and take something like this to build that resiliency. And that Goldilocks effect I find is key in everything. When I speak at seminars, I have that image graphic in my presentation of the Goldilocks effect, just that right amount. And it used to just be for exercise, but it's for fasting now. It's for being too keto. It's being too many hormetic stressors as a HIIT training and the sauna and the cold therapy. And I think it's always the right amount for you as an individual, but you have to, test and figure out what works best for you, because we're so unique. But I like that, building resiliency, I think, is important. I think we learned that a lot with the last couple of years, that the more resilient you are. So what does that mean to you as a neurohacker? You work with a company that is all about, how we can biohack kind of our brain, our immune system, our health. What would resiliency mean?
It's thriving under stress. It's thriving in, we're not really interested in being just status quo. I just want to survive. We want to push through. We want to do more. We're performance folks.
And that's what I say. I always say, I think I say every episode, I want to strive to thrive every day, not survive the day.
Right.
And I really think, I think COVID kind of made me a better person in a way, because I was changing my belief in, improving quality of life, living outside. We moved here from Seattle and to have quality of life and live in the outdoors. But I think finding, a new schedule and not pushing ourselves to the edge every day and making that time for happiness, joy, laughter, I think is so essential part of that journey to be more resilient and to prove the aging process. We need that happiness factor, and being with people and having fun, I think, is so much of
I can't hear you.
Are you there? Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, my mute button went off. I just think it's just so important as we age that we need to be more resilient and, do all this stuff. So I appreciate companies as yourself that you're working with. The Neurohacker Collective is really always looking out best interest of everyone to improve that aging process. But I should have said this in the beginning. What is a neurohacker?
I love this question. I mean, so we're concentrated on the brain and taking steps and measures to increase brain performance and thus the cascade down of benefits into the body performance.
Was Qualia Mind the first product?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you just keep finding new areas of opportunity that we need to do, or just like combining.
We realized that our team, which has just like such a diverse background of disciplines, and our approach using complexity system science to formulation could be applied to many different categories in the supplement space. And every time we kind of saw a gap, we were like, okay, well, let's approach this. We're not interested in putting out a formula that's already there. But like for Qualia Night, that's our second bestseller. We sat back and asked ourselves, what does the brain need to do its jobs at night? Yeah. And started working on a formula, and it's incredible, but it's so different. You don't take it to help you fall asleep. It's not sedative at all. You take it at dinner time, or at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. And it has a host of ingredients to help with BDNF production and all of the important jobs that the brain does, so that you really wake up and you feel more rejuvenated from it. And so we just kept kind of going about it, of looking for areas where there was an opportunity to innovate. And for Senolytics, for example, which is, we're really excited about this research, and we saw that only movers in the category are doing just high doses of fisetin or high doses of quercetin that is not even like going to make it, that's not bioavailable. And so we knew that we could like provide value and create something really special.
So knowing people that listen to podcasts and biohacking and other shows, they'll look at this and go, okay, I need the brain one. I need the sleep one. I need the senescence one, quality life. Like, how do you know which ones to take without overloading on supplements? Because one serving can be like 6 capsules, right? So depending on which one you get. So how do you know, like, I'm not going to take 50 supplements a day and maybe cycle things in and out? Like this month I'm working on my immune system. This month I'm working on my brain health. I mean, it all seems so important to me because I'm always worried about brain health and brain fog, memory, and aging, but they all kind of go hand in hand. But where do you start, and how would you titrate and sequence things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like many of our heavy users in that I use all of our products. One of the joys of working there, but yeah, I would say, Qualia Mind put us on the map for a reason. It is really the standard for cognitive performance. Mm-hmm. It has 28 ingredients, adaptogens, choline, like nootropics, of course, a B vitamin stack that's really well thought out. It isn't just one form of B. It has the whole well thought out sequence that you really do need for acetylcholine and all the brain product. Like, we really thought out every aspect of it. And that product, most people can feel something within the first few days of taking it.
I did. Yeah, it's amazing.
And the benefits show up, like different benefits show up over time. So I kind of like the analogy of the cognitive pyramid. So on the bottom of the cognitive pyramid is like attention and focus. And as you move up in the cognitive period, there's like more complex things like verbal recall, memory, executive function, social cognition, empathy, and it just keeps moving, up and up and up. And so, when you at the bottom, depending on how depleted you are, you'll start noticing, wow, I'm like more focused, I'm more alert. And after you take more and more, you'll be like, wow, I'm surprised I remembered that, when most of the time I struggle like remembering people's names or where I put my keys. And then over time, like depending on your mileage may vary, of course, but that's kind of like how the product is designed.
I'm just looking at the website, and you have all the ingredients listed. It says, what bundles to get, but I think it's figuring out what is your priority, what's your area of opportunity. And like when I'm working with clients, I do kind of a intro special and look at their nutritional therapy assessment, which is our NutriQ, this input of 309 questions. We can see different patterns of where you might have your areas of opportunity to prioritize what to work on. But always gut health is first, brain health. But I think, what the nutrients, because I just did a seminar for our brand, this group program we're doing for Ben's transformation challenge. And I was on the brain optimization. And of course I was listing everything from this, because all the ingredients that are shown to improve BDNF are the Qualia Mind. So it was just like a good all-in-one, because I'm all into all-in-one supplement. Instead of having 10 bottles of everything that I've read about to help my brain health, it was like, oh, just take this one and take, all these capsules is easier. But I think, what we're talking about mainly today is the immune health. And I think as we progress into our new future world of really optimizing our health and really looking at how you can improve your immune system, because I know people are always getting sick and viruses keep going around, and how resilient you are changes your outcome of it was nothing, or I was super sick for 2 weeks. Like I just talked to someone at the gym last night, has this respiratory infection. I'm like, get a nebulizer, get this Mitozen, the Glutstat, and do this. But it's just like, what can we do to prevent? So I'm all about preventative health and how to improve that cell health now. But so with this product, Qualia Senolytic, we can get started with that. And how long do you think we should do it? Like ongoing, twice a month? Is there research like cycle it in twice a month for 3 months, 6 months, or just all the time?
Yeah, in terms of long-term duration, I don't really know the answer to that. I think that as we're aging, we're constantly accumulating more. It does take time for them to reaccumulate. We had the research that it's a 2-day dose that you need to have space 30, about a month in a between. But cycling is like a real important value to us. So, I think if you felt like, oh, I'm going to take this, once a quarter, as kind of my maintenance for healthy aging, that would probably be a really like reasonable idea.
Well, plus we like having our clients do quarterly fast, kind of a detox, whatever you want to call it, but just kind of an overhaul that you maybe take 5 days and really clean everything out, doing more liquid bone broth fast and adding, special habits to improve that cellular detox. And I think that would be a good time. Like if it's less overwhelming, if it just, once a month, that's all you need to do. That's awesome.
Right.
That I can take that. Then, oh my gosh, I have to take another supplement every day. And then people aren't consistent with it, and then they don't get results. So I love that it's just effective, that minimal dose of once, twice a month, take a whole bunch of it, and then you're good for another 2-4 weeks or whatever it might be for you. But it'd be interesting to do lab testing. Of course, I always think of stacking, like how to test if it's working, like have some functional lab tests, if it's organic acids or a stool test to see if there's what markers we could look at to change it. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So are you guys at conferences coming up?
I think that not for a bit, but we're starting to stagger to. Where are you going? Are you going to?
I've got KetoCon next week that I'm speaking at, fueling and training for the low carb athlete. And then I know a lot of people seem to be going to Beverly Hills. There's a Biohacker conference in September. And then I don't know what else. There's a bunch. Oh, Low Carb USA is here in September in San Diego. I'll probably be there in end of August. I'll be there. So yeah, this is weird having kind of juggle all these conferences now. It's like you can't go to everything. We've had 2 years of none. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not used to going away. And plus
Right.
I don't want to leave anymore. Before I was like, get out of Seattle for a weekend. Sure. I'm good. But now I'm like, I don't want to go. I want to stay home. So yeah, but the website's neurohacker.com, and we have, I'll put everything in the show notes and the research links. People can read more. And then we have a little discount code we will add in there too, with the link to save 15%. I keep hitting the button and it keeps turning off. So anything else that you want to share that we can add in the show notes? Did we cover everything?
I think you covered it all. And I mean, this was our hit and run of learning about Senolytics. And
Yeah.
so I know that there'll be a lot more, and I'm sure you'll have a lot more conversations about senescent cells over the next year or two. So
I would love to look up more research too, on how for the athlete, because I think, combining it with the exercise and timing it and stacking it with other things would be kind of fun to dive into how the athlete can use it. Because I know athletes are overtraining and under recovering, and how we can add this into their monthly routine would be pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah.
So we don't want to speed up the aging process, and that's what too much exercise can do.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Lauren, for your time today. And I will hopefully see you soon. We'll host a biohacking event up here in our hilltop sometime this fall. So
I'd love that.
you can help me with gardening, because I've got
Yes.
all these plants. I don't know what I'm doing here. So you can help me. All right. Thank you.